Okay, think about this for a second. What happens when you smash together like boundless creativity, amazing puppetry, and really bold storytelling? Today, we're doing a deep dive into exactly that show, Farscape. It's that Australian-American sci-fi series that ran from '99 to 2003 and really made its mark. We're going to unpack its origins, what made it so unique, the serious challenges it faced, and why it still has this incredible legacy as a cult classic. We've got a bunch of info to draw on, including a piece called Farscape, a sci-fi cult classic overview.
Yeah, and our mission here really is to get under the skin of how Farscape managed to carve out its own space in, let's face it, a pretty crowded genre. We want to figure out why it hit such a chord with fans and, what kind of impact it had on the sci-fi that came after it. I mean, when you consider a show that could blend really intense, emotional drama with, pocket humor, essentially, what do you think the secret ingredient was there?
That's a great question. And it really sets us up perfectly because this universe was genuinely unfamiliar territory. I mean, the basic idea is already pretty compelling, right? John Crichton, an astronaut from our time, gets shot through a wormhole during some experiment.
The classic slingshot maneuver gone wrong.
Exactly. And boom, he's light years away in this completely alien part of the universe. He ends up, quite literally, crashing onto Moya.
Which isn't just a ship.
No, it's a living biomechanical ship. And he's stuck there with this crew of escaped prisoners, all aliens. It's fish out of water, but turned up to 11.
It really is, and Crichton often feels like the most alien one there, surrounded by all these different species. But what grabs you immediately, I think, is just how audacious it looked, visually. Compared to other sci-fi from that time, which is really starting to lean into early CGI.
Right.
Farscape, because it came from the Jim Henson Company, just went, nope. They doubled down on practical effects, puppets, incredible prosthetics. Think about Rigel A-6, the little Hynerian ruler.
Oh yeah, the little floating guy.
Or Pilot, the ship's navigator, with all those arms. They weren't just designs, they were these amazing animatronic creations. They felt so real, so lived in.
I remember reading about Rigel. It's kind of mind-blowing. He apparently needed up to 3 puppeteers.
That's right, 3 people working together.
One just for his face, to get all those expressions, another for his body movements, and then a third person doing the voice.
Yeah, that level of detail allowed for such a complex personality. It gave him this real presence, Something that, honestly, early CGI often just couldn't capture. It didn't feel tangible like that. These puppets felt solid.
It really did. It wasn't just about looking cool. It actually helped you connect with them, I think.
Exactly. It grounded these alien characters in a way that maybe purely digital creations back then struggled to do. It made them feel present, emotionally accessible. And that whole practical, almost organic approach, it wasn't just the characters. It was baked into the show's DNA, like Moya herself.
The living ship.
Yeah. She wasn't just transport. She was a leviathan. A huge, thinking, feeling, biomechanical creature. That idea of a living ship, it was pretty fresh for sci-fi back then. It blurred the lines between, setting and character, really made the show feel distinct.
Absolutely. And it wasn't just the look, was it? The whole tone of the show was different, too.
Oh, definitely.
It was darker, it was weirder.
Yeah.
It wasn't afraid to just smash genres together.
Right. Space opera, but also psychological drama.
Slapstick humor 1 minute, then intense romance, then these totally surreal, almost dreamlike episodes.
Yeah, our sources mention everything from gritty war stories to body swap comedies.
And episodes dealing with drug hallucinations. It really pushed things, challenged what you expected from a sci-fi show week to week.
Yeah.
I mean, where else do you get profound grief explored next to a literal butt-face joke?
Yeah, that kind of sums it up, doesn't it? That mix is why it's so memorable. Which kind of leads to the next big question, right? How did this wild blend of the bizarre and the genuinely emotional actually work through the characters? Because at its core, you had one of the most, I think, compelling love stories in sci-fi TV history.
Oh, Crichton and Aaron, absolutely.
Yeah, John Crichton, played by Ben Browder, and Aaron's son, the peacekeeper turned fugitive, played by Claudia Black. Their relationship.
Wow.
It complicated, intense, and it really evolved. It anchored everything, didn't it? Amidst all the chaos.
It totally did. And Crichton himself, he brought such a unique viewpoint, like an anchor for the audience too, almost. All those pop culture references he made, Looney Tunes, Star Wars, Sesame Street. Apparently a lot of those weren't even scripted.
Really? He improvised.
Yeah, Ben Browder just threw them in. Which gave Crichton this very specific, very earthling way of seeing things. And for you, the listener, it's kind of funny, right? Seeing this ordinary guy just trying to process these insane situations using his frame of reference.
It grounded it, made the extraordinary feel somehow relatable through his eyes. He was our way in, but the whole ensemble was just fantastic. So critical.
Definitely. Not just Crichton and Aaron.
No way! You had Argo, Anthony Simcoe playing this big Luxon warrior, all honor and rage, but with a soft spot.
And Zahn, the Blue Priestess. Virginia Hay, so serene, but with that hidden past.
Kozo Tozan, yeah. The Delvian.
But for all that creative brilliance, Farscape definitely hit some major roadblocks, didn't it?
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, what happens when you try to be that innovative? All those amazing practical effects, the animatronics, the makeup, it looked incredible. But
it cost a fortune. That's the bottom line. It was incredibly expensive to make. Always fighting the budget.
And that cost, sadly, became a huge part of the story later on. It led to, well, probably the biggest controversy around the show.
The cancellation.
Yeah, just bang. End of season 4. They wrap up on this massive cliffhanger. Bad Timing was the episode title, I think.
Aptly named, yeah.
And just left everything hanging, so many storylines unresolved. And the fan reaction was, well, something else. Honestly, pretty unprecedented for the time.
It really was.
They mounted one of the first big online Save Our Show campaigns. Like a really organized, passionate effort.
Flooding the network, Sci-Fi Channel back then, right? And media outlets, emails, letters.
Yeah, everything. Just this huge groundswell of support. And it wasn't just noise either. That fan campaign was actually crucial.
It worked. It directly led to them getting the funding for the miniseries.
Farscape. The Peacekeeper Wars in 2004, which thankfully did wrap up most of those dangling plot threads. A huge win for fan power.
It absolutely is. A real testament to how much the show meant to people. But, you know, going back to the production itself, it wasn't just budget issues. All that heavy makeup and those prosthetics, they took a real physical toll on the actors.
Right, I heard about that. Virginia Hay, who played Zahn.
Yeah, she actually developed health problems from the blue body paint she had to wear constantly. It was apparently one of the reasons she eventually left the show.
Wow. And Anthony Simcoe, D'Argo, he talked about how grueling it was too, right? Hours in makeup every day.
Hours putting it on, hours taking it off. He described it as really tough, physically demanding work, which, you know, it makes you think.
About the human cost.
Yeah, the human cost behind creating these amazing visuals. How do you balance that artistic ambition with the well-being of the performers? It's an important question.
It really is. And the challenges weren't just behind the scenes either. The show itself, the stories it told.
Pretty edgy for the time.
Definitely. It dealt with stuff like, you know, sexuality, torture, some pretty deep psychological trauma, lots of moral gray areas.
Not your standard heroic space opera fare.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And that led to debates, apparently. Was it too dark or maybe too weird for the Sci-Fi Channel audience back then? It certainly wasn't playing it safe.
No, it definitely pushed boundaries, asked difficult questions, didn't shy away from showing that space could be a pretty messed up place.
And this is where it gets really interesting, I think. A lot of people argue that Farscape basically paved the way for a lot of the sci-fi that came later.
I'd agree with that.
It really championed serialized storytelling.
Right.
Developing characters and plots over whole seasons, not just hitting reset every week, which was still pretty common then.
Yeah, deep character arcs and morally complex characters too. People who weren't just good or bad, flawed heroes, villains you could sometimes sympathize with.
And that blend we talked about, the humor mixed with really dark, dramatic stuff.
Exactly. Our sources point to shows like Firefly. You can definitely see echoes there, right? The ragtag crew, the slightly gritty feel, and even maybe some of the darker, more character-focused arcs in the modern Doctor Who revival. Farscape showed you could do that kind of sophisticated, emotionally complex sci-fi.
It broadened the palette in a way.
It really did, and its impact wasn't just thematic either. It's fascinating how it spread through the actors, too.
You mean Ben Browder and Claudia Black?
Yeah. Their chemistry as Crichton and Aaron was just electric. Everyone saw it.
Yeah.
So much so that after Farscape ended, they were both cast in Stargate SG-1.
Right. Playing different characters, but bringing that same energy.
Exactly, and their casting really helped kind of refresh Stargate at that point, brought in a lot of Farscape fans too. It shows how much appeal they had built on that Farscape foundation.
So we've covered a lot of ground here.
Which leads us to maybe one last thing to chew on for you, the listener. In today's world where entertainment is just saturated with CGI, really polished CGI, What's the value, the enduring value of practical effects, of puppetry, of prosthetic makeup? Does that visible human touch, the artistry you can almost feel behind those creations, does it resonate differently today? Does it connect with us in a way that purely digital effects, no matter how perfect they look, maybe sometimes can't?
Something to think about.